performance mindset. Look at all. Getting ready to present at the. Getting ready to start the peak performance.
Today's guest, Stacy Harris, is an entrepreneur, expert business connector, international speaker, and consultant with 20 years of experience mastering the art of networking and building businesses. She is highly regarded for her insight into building business relationships that take companies to the next level. Throughout Stacy's career, she's been fortunate to work with top-tier clients, including Keller Williams, R.E. Max, Merrill Lynch, Edward Jones, Exxon, and Habitat for Humanity, to name a few. Her experience spans a wide range of industries from finance, real estate, and fitness to property management, oil and gas, and nonprofits. I am so pleased to introduce you to Stacy Harris, who will help you with networking. Stacy, thank you so much for being a part of the Savvy Sales Lady live podcast. I am so excited for my audience to meet you and to learn everything they can about networking from you. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you, and I appreciate the invite and you allowing me to speak to your audience. I know that they really trust you, so I really do appreciate you allowing me to have this time with you guys.
Well, thanks. Full disclosure, Stacy, yes. I am not a good networker.
Oh, so, good. I'm so glad.
Yeah, I'm the one that would be on the wall of an event and hugging it because I'm an introvert. Mm-hmm. And there's this misconception out there that if you're an introvert, you can't sell. Well, introverts are good one-on-one.
They are, because they're good listeners.
That's right. We're just not good when it comes to a group. So what I would like to kind of go through, knowing that I was never a good networker. So let's pretend that we're networking 101 and I'm coming to you for advice. How would you coach me in networking, Stacy?
So the first thing that I always talk to people about when it comes to networking is their mindset, because we all know that what is going on up here in between our ears is going to control the outcome of everything that we do. And most people, they think that networking is all about walking into a room full of strangers, being uncomfortable and handing out a bunch of business cards and just hoping that they happen to run into somebody that might be a good contact, a good client, will buy their product, their service, whatever. And that is not what networking is about at all. And so what it is really about is helping as many people as you can. It's about talking to people, making friends, connecting with people, and then finding out how you can help them. And so most people, they go into a networking situation putting a lot of pressure on themselves, particularly introverts, like yourself, because you think introverts tend to be very worried about how are they going to carry the conversation? How are they going to make small talk? And how are they going to connect with people when they feel uncomfortable in a group situation anyway? And so the first thing I teach people is take the pressure off of yourself and go into networking thinking in the way of this. I am going to go in here and I'm going to talk to 2 or 3 people, because for an introvert, you need to keep the number small. And if you have just 1 or 2 really meaningful conversations with someone as an introvert, you're going to really feel accomplished walking into it. And so when you walk into a networking situation, go into it with this attitude of, I'm going to find who I can help tonight. I'm going to ask great questions. I am going to see who I can help in here. Who can I add value? Who can I run into and talk to for a few minutes and just make them feel better because they had a conversation with me? When you start to think about it in that way, you start taking all of the pressure off of yourself because you're not thinking about how you perform, how you carry the conversation. It's not you. You're thinking about the other person, focusing on asking them questions and how you can make it all about them. And we all know everybody loves to talk about themselves.
That is so true. So let me ask you this. Do you
Mhm.
mind role playing with me a situation? So we're at a networking event and you're going to
Mhm.
come up to me. What would you say and do?
Okay. I would say, hey, Christine, how are you this evening? Have you ever been to this event before?
No, I haven't, Stacy. Actually, I don't network that much.
Okay. Well, you know what? This is my first time to be here too. So maybe we can just kind of stick together and navigate around the room a little bit. If that's okay with you, would that be all right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, good. You can be my wing woman. So tell me a little bit about you first. Tell me, how did you, I see Savvy Sales Lady on your name tag. So what kind of sales do you do? You're a salesperson, you're a sales coach. Tell me about that.
Well, I'm a sales coach and I do virtual training and on-site training for sales teams. And then I do also coach individual salespeople as well.
Okay, great. How long have you been doing that?
10 years.
Good for you. And all online.
Yes, mostly it is
Yeah.
online, although I do
Mhm.
do quite a bit. Well, I would say days before COVID, I was out in front of people all the time. But since
Mhm.
then, it's been mostly virtual.
Oh, I
So,
see. Yeah.
how about you, Stacy?
Life a lot. I work with people on networking. I'm all things networking. I have
Oh,
networking groups and I love to teach people how to network effectively so that the time that they spend networking becomes profitable for them and just teaching them how to build great relationships. So I love to just get to know people and help them connect and make really good relationships. And I was wondering, what did you do before you were doing this?
I was in corporate insurance sales for 42 years prior to starting my business.
Okay. Very good. And what do you do when you're not being the savvy sales lady?
Being the savvy sales lady,
Yeah.
I work a lot. I have a grandson that keeps me busy, and I have
Oh,
little fur people that, I have to take care of.
oh, me too. So what is your grandson's name?
Everett,
Everett.
little
Do you have
Everett.
any pictures?
I do. They're behind me.
Oh, okay. There we go. So, and fur babies. I have three fur babies. I have cats. Are you a cat or a dog person?
I have both cats and dogs.
Okay. Very good. That's a little bit of
All
heaven
right,
on earth.
time
See?
out.
See how easy that was?
So um, that is, what do I want to say? Remarkable because I never got into the personal side when I was out networking.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
you do ask personal questions.
I always ask personal questions. I really like to ask the personal. I like to get into that as soon as possible because the personal questions are really going to tell you about the person and what
Okay.
makes them tick. You are much more likely to find common ground with somebody through the personal. So we immediately bonded over the fact that we love animals and
Mm-hmm.
we both work a lot. I
Yeah.
totally understand, what you do when you're not working this. Yeah. But when you ask those personal questions, it just opens a door for people to talk about things because not everybody, you and I obviously love what we do, but not everybody does.
That is
And
so
so,
true.
so when you start to talk about the personal, whenever somebody starts talking about their hobbies, their favorite sports team, their grandchildren, uh, their house on the lake, anything like that, their pets, their kids. That is what, if somebody says they love to travel and you say, oh, really? Well, what's the next big trip you have coming up? People light up when they talk about those things. And with those answers, the things that they will tell you when you ask the personal questions, with those answers, they are going to reveal to you so many things about themselves and how you can help them.
Well, let me ask you this then. So you've talked to 20 people. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the
Mm-hmm.
event. You've talked to 20 people. How do you keep track of all of that?
Okay. So for you being an introvert, again, I would put it to 5 conversations or less. Don't put that pressure on yourself of 20 people, because for introverts, that is like energy sucking, life sucking to have 20 conversations. Am I wrong as an
No, that's
introvert?
right. Yeah.
Okay. So don't put those big expectations on yourself. Say, 1 to 3 conversations or 3 to 5, whatever you feel like you can handle that day. And for me, the more people I talk to, the happier I am. And so to answer your question, the way that I keep track of it is I ask people for, if it's a conversation that I want to continue, it's somebody that I want to follow up with. Then I always ask for their business card or for their contact information. And then if they have a physical business card, which I highly, highly, highly recommend that you have. I know people like digital cards these days, but nothing replaces having the physical business card. So usually I will write a little note on their business card. And a lot of times I will ask people, what is the best way for me to communicate with you? Would you prefer for me to email? So I would say something like, Christine, I have loved hanging out with you at this event, and it would make me so happy if we could get together for coffee or lunch, or if we could do a Zoom call. What is the best way for me to reach out to you? Do you want me to text you? I see your cell number on here, or do you prefer email? I will circle that on the card, whatever you said. And then I may put a little note on there like grandson Everett. And then in the follow-up email or text that I send you, I will say, hey, Christine, love getting a visit with you. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got to spend some time with little Everett over the weekend. Could we schedule a time where we could get together?
Yeah. See, you said something that I thought that I teach a lot, and that is ask people what's their preferred way to be contacted.
To communicate.
Don't assume it's going to be a text message, or don't
Right.
assume it's going to be email. Ask them
Right.
what's the best way or what
Yes.
you prefer to be contacted. So I'm
Yes.
glad to hear you say that.
Yeah.
So, Wes Schaefer, who is the sales whisperer, he's a colleague of mine.
Uh-huh.
He teaches as well to um, have a contact, a blank contact ready on your phone that's a part of your CRM app. So whether you use Salesforce or Nimble or Nutshell or HubSpot, have the contact open, then have them plug in their contact information. And when he saves it, it automatically sends them an email.
It sends the person you're talking to an email.
Yep. It'll
Okay.
send them an email and hey, we just met at this event. He creates the emails ahead of time as a
Right.
template. And so he has it all scheduled out in an
Okay.
email journey that when they plug in their contact information, this email is sent out. And so when they get around to looking at their phone, which may be later that day or night, they see that email from Wes, and
Yeah.
it saves him the typing out 20 emails. Now,
Right.
Wes is one of these who would meet 50 people in one night.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not like that, but he is. So have you ever used that kind of a template at networking events?
I have not. To me, that it's distracting for me personally, because if I'm trying to put all of this into the phone, then
well, he's handing it to the other person to have them do it.
He has them put it in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
I see. I have not tried doing anything like that before. No, I haven't. It's a great idea. Okay. It's a great idea if you have everything set up on your end so that, yeah.
Yes,
so
you'd have to be prepared.
Yeah. I like to have the physical business cards, because what I do is I have 2 pockets in my purse, one with the people I want to follow up with, and the other for the ones I'm going to throw away. And basically, or maybe just add them to my email list if they've asked to be added to that. And then I go back because I always like to put something personal in the email. I don't like it to be a template that they get
Mm-hmm.
from me. I like to put something in there that shows you that I remember you and our conversation. So that's one of the reasons I like the physical business card too, because I can go back, I can look at any notes I scribbled on there or anything like that. Cause I like just that personal touch.
So let me ask you this next question. So all of
Mhm.
these ideas have been popping in my head while we're talking,
Yeah.
reminiscing on my networking days.
Yeah.
How do you handle the person that is the walking billboard? In other words,
Mhm.
that person doesn't really care about you.
Right.
This
Right.
person is
Yes.
just a walking billboard for his or her business, and that's it.
Well, they're the ones that they just throw their business cards at you as they walk along and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I get away from them as fast as I can. So,
Yeah.
usually I will, seriously, I get away from them as fast as I can. I just say something like, thank you so much for introducing yourself. And I hope you have a great evening. I've got your stuff here, whatever it is they've handed me. And I'll take a look at it later. But I've made a personal goal tonight. I'm going to talk to 5 more people who I've never met before. So I'm going to go work the rest of the room and go, make sure I hit my goal. Have a great evening.
So
And
you're gracious about it,
I just
of
kind of cut it
course.
off. Yes,
Yeah.
I just cut it. You don't ever want to burn bridges. And most of the time when people are doing that, it's either out of desperation because they have a sales goal that they're trying to meet. And you
Mhm.
certainly understand that. I mean, we
Oh,
all
yeah.
do because it doesn't matter how great we've done in May. We all know, okay, yay, high five, we hit our goal in May, but we start all over in June.
Right. You're
And
only as good
so
as your last sale.
right. And so a lot of these people that are the walking billboards, as you put it, I love that term. They are doing that out of desperation or because they are so nervous about being there and talking to people. They're just trying to fill empty space. And so what they do is they just start talking and they start just telling you all about themselves. And it's to fill time. It's because they are nervous. It's
Yeah.
a nervous habit for the most part, is what I have found. Or it could be that they're just really clueless as far as it goes. And those aren't people that you're wanting to build a relationship with anyway. And so for those people, I always tell people who take my networking class, they're doing you a favor when they do that because you don't need to spend any more time on them past what you spent that night. You don't need to follow up with them. You don't need to, there's no relationship building that's going to happen. You don't need to have coffee. You're not going to refer them to anybody. They've already shown you their hand and who they are and how they do business. And that isn't what you want to do. You don't take it personally. You just keep on going.
It's like the bad date.
It
So
is.
you're on the
I
date
say that
and
all the time.
yeah, all the
Yes.
guy can do is talk about himself and never ask you one question
Yes.
about
Yes.
yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And I say that all the time. Like when you go to a networking event, it's so unrealistic. People go, I hear people say all the time, networking doesn't work. And they say that because they are not getting immediate business because they didn't
Mhm.
go and, I say like hunt it, kill it, take it home. Like they shot at a target, they missed, they left there and they think, well, that's 90 minutes of my life I'm never going to get back. Total waste of time. But the networking event, when you go to it and you meet somebody, that is the first date. And to expect them to buy your product, hire you for your service, become your client, after a 5-minute conversation is like somebody proposing on the first date and saying yes.
Mhm.
I mean, there's no relationship that's there. There's no foundation that has been built in any way. And
Plus, you don't
so
even know if you're a good match.
you don't. No, there's no way. So, there's just that initial contact. It's when, I always say if you get the warm and fuzzies from somebody, whether you see a way for you to do business or not, but if there's just good synergy between you and another person and you just truly enjoyed the short conversation that you had, you've 100% need to follow up with that person and explore the possibilities of where that relationship can go, because you never know. Even if you think that person can't help you in any way, business wise, directly, you never know who they know
Yeah,
and
that's very true.
who is
Yeah.
in their network. So I had a mentor that used to always say, every dud knows a stud. And I found that to be very true.
I like that.
Yeah.
So tell me, how much, or maybe not much at all, has
Uh-huh.
networking changed over the decades?
Yeah. You know, I definitely think it's different since COVID. I think that is what has had, because I think in so many parts of the country, I'm in Texas, in the Houston area, and we were very fortunate in this part of the world. Um, I'm not saying things didn't change, but our world didn't stop the way that it did in a lot of places. And so I know that it can be different depending on where you live and things like that. But I do see differences even here, where we didn't stop everything for a very long time, about 6 weeks, and that was it. But what I see is that people just got used to being in their houses, being in their comfy clothes, being on Zoom all the time. And they really forgot, a lot of people have forgotten how to really interact and interface with people, and how to just build a foundational relationship. And they don't want to take the time to do it. It seems like the patience level for building the relationships is a little shorter than what it used to be. And nothing replaces, you and I live in two different states. So this is the only way that we can communicate face to face is via Zoom, which is a huge blessing. But I can tell you, as much fun as we can have via Zoom, if you and I were together in the same room, the electricity and the energy, we'd be bouncing off the walls. So that's the big difference that I see it with networking, is just what COVID, it just got us into some really bad habits, and really put distances between people. And it's been hard to, we got lazy. And
Oh, I
once you've been
agree.
lazy, it's hard to get out of those bad habits. So
I call,
that's the main thing. The main thing.
yeah, COVID changed so much. And I
Yeah.
call it lazy casual, when you can't even show up with, if you're going to wear a t-shirt, iron it at least.
Yeah.
You know, don't wear it all wrinkled and
We're one without a coffee stain on the front. Yeah.
yeah, there's
Yes,
such a thing as lazy casual. And
there is.
as we were talking pre-show, I'm Stacy, I'm the last generation that remembers what it was like to wear gloves at mass, to
Mm-hmm.
wear veils, to wear gloves even when you went out to dinner. And
Yeah.
people actually dressed up when they
Yes.
went out to dinner.
Going out to dinner was an
And
occasion. Mm-hmm.
yes, and I'm the last generation that remembers when my mother would enter the room, my dad would stand up. When we would go to the dinner table, he would pull her chair out and let her sit
Yeah.
down and push it in. And we were not an elegant household. We were lower middle class, living in a little national home
Yeah.
right behind the Speedway 500 track. And those race fans will know what those homes are like. They're very small. We were not
Yeah.
wealthy at all. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember all of those common courtesies that my dad extended to my mother, because he was a gentleman and she was a lady.
Yeah.
And he treated us as little ladies, his
Yes.
own daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother wore gloves uh, whenever she went out, and wore nice clothes, her only nice suit that she had, and her little pillbox hat.
Aw.
And that's not what you see anymore, is it?
Right. It's
And
not.
not only that, Stacy, not only is the the dress lazy, the language is lazy as
Yes,
well.
it is. Very true. Very true.
So, in this new world that we live in, um, after COVID, I would love for people to get back to even the art of a conversation.
Yes,
And that's important when you're
I would
networking,
too.
isn't it?
It is very important. And those people who are well spoken and well dressed, they stand out at any networking event, at any conference, at any class that they attend, because it is the exception and not the rule now.
Yes, it's sad, isn't it?
It is. It's very sad. But if you will take the time to do those things, you will stand out to people and they will remember you. If, I tell people all the time, there is nothing wrong with being the best dressed person in the room. So,
That's right.
yes, yeah, but it really is. It's so funny because I went to a networking event about a month ago, and it was the first time that I'd been to this particular event. It was all women, and there were only about 15 to 18 people who were there. But out of that room, there was one young lady who stood out to me the most. She very young, early 20s, but she was well dressed. Her hair was beautifully done, her makeup. And when she stood up, she spoke clearly. She used a big vocabulary and she was able to very succinctly, but very clearly tell people who she was and what she did. And out of everybody in the room, she was the one that stood out to me. And she was the one that I said, I have to talk to her. Not that the other ladies weren't nice or welcoming or anything like that, but she was the one that I wanted to talk to.
I would be intrigued by a woman like that.
Yes, yes,
Right?
absolutely. And yeah, and
Yeah.
I could tell she was young. And then when she told me she was 22, I was like, oh my goodness, this gives me hope for the next generation, is what I told her.
Well, I think more people are longing for this back to elegance,
Yes.
back to sophistication.
Mm-hmm.
And even, I mean, my son and I, he's 31, my son, well, soon to be 32. And we've talked about this quite a bit because he loves all the old movies.
Uh-huh.
And, my dad died in 2013, but he used to play, he had oh, what do they call the regular, record players that I grew up
Oh, yeah.
with the
Yeah.
needle.
Mhm.
He would play my son all his Nat King Cole albums and Frank Sinatra
Oh,
albums. And so my son kind of took over that legacy of collecting vinyls and only playing vinyls.
yeah.
And he said to me, "Wait, what movie was it we were watching?" And he like kind of turned to me and he said, "What happened?"
Yeah.
And I said,
It can't be explained.
"I
I
don't
know.
know."
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm not sure that I could answer that question, but yeah, it
Oh, there's your
definitely.
kitty.
Oh, there's my little Max. He likes to always see who I'm talking to.
I love that. I love that. And I was lamenting with one of my
Yeah.
Instagram followers. We're both
Yes.
follow each other on Instagram. Never met her,
Uh-huh.
Laura, and she sells. She hand dyes yarn for knitting, and I'm not a knitter, but I'm really intrigued by it because my mother knitted.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so her and I were lamenting one day in direct messages about, can anyone sell a real wool suit these days?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
anyone, can we
Mhm.
have our real fabrics back?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with networking.
No, it actually does. It's that is one thing that I talk to people about all the time, is their appearance and what a difference. Because if you walk into, if it's networking makes you a little nervous anyway, but you walk into it knowing that you look great, you feel confident about your appearance you're going to look people in the eye better. You're going to do much better job of that. You are not going to be worried about how you're dressed compared to everybody else. You're not going to be lost in your own head about that. You are going to stand out. Again, it opens doors for you when it shows that not only do you have respect for yourself, but you have respect for the event to which you're attending.
You said that
So,
so well. It's respect.
mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm big into etiquette too, and my son
Mhm.
knows this because I like drilled it down
I bet. Yeah.
his head when he was growing up. And, and I told him the stories about my dad. My
Mhm.
dad would iron his handkerchiefs even. He
Yes.
ironed his
Mhm.
t-shirts. He was a factory worker,
Yep.
but he would iron his t-shirts and he
Mhm.
would iron his jeans.
Yep.
And I remember saying to him, "Well, you're just going to the factory. Why are you doing that?" And he said, "I have respect for myself."
That's right. Yep.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
Yes.
I mean, I was
It's
a
huge.
kid. I didn't know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It really is. It's huge. And you will be taken much more seriously if you are well dressed, if you are well spoken. And one thing that just kills me is going to some of these events and the foul language that people
Yes.
use. And you don't know me. You don't know that that isn't really offensive to me or
Mhm.
just uncalled for. It's, if those are the only words you can think of to use to me, you have a very limited vocabulary. And it's so disrespectful to me,
I'm
to
glad to
do
hear you say that. I was on
so.
a Zoom call with a colleague, and I kid you not, and it was kinda networking. We were all talking about our
Yeah.
businesses and collaborating and things like that, and I ended up, ending the Zoom call because every other word out of this man's mouth was the F word.
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm done with this."
Yeah.
I don't know why you think it's okay to talk to 2 women like this.
Yeah. 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 It's just really, it just, again, respect, lack of
Mhm.
respect. Yeah. Yeah. So there's so many unspoken, there are so many things that we do that are unspoken, but they tell people who we are and how we feel about ourselves. And our appearance is a huge one. That's a huge one. And how we talk. One thing I really like to do when I'm meeting with people, if it's somebody that I'm exploring, having some kind of a referral partnership with or anything like that, I love to meet them in a restaurant when I can, because I like to see how they treat the servers.
That's very smart, Stacy.
Because how they treat the servers is a very, very good indication to me of how they're going to treat anybody that I might send to them as a client.
Yes, that is a very good point.
Mhm. So that is something that I have learned to do, um, in when it is possible, is
Yes,
to do
yes.
it that way
So
because
do you well,
Mhm.
let me, transition to this, and we've got a few minutes left to
Yeah.
talk, which is unbelievable because I feel like I could talk to you for 2 hours.
I know. This is why we need to get together in the same room sometime.
You're right, you're right. Um, I would love to come to Texas, by the
I
way.
would love for you to come to Texas.
The Is there much virtual networking going on now? And
There
what
is.
does that look like?
Yeah, yeah. There is a lot of virtual networking that goes on, and I see a lot of like speed networking that people are doing. And once a month, I sit in on a leads and needs. So where we're put into groups of 5 or 6, and each one of us shares a lead that we have for somebody in the group, and then you also share a need. So for me, I'm always looking for speaking engagements, groups that are looking for keynote speakers, or for a company that has a sales team, a corporation has a sales team, and they're willing to invest to bring somebody like me in to talk to their sales team. about how to network effectively so that the time they spend networking turns into the profitability that they're wanting it to. And so I would share that need. And then as somebody else goes around the room, maybe when it comes to you, I would say, Christine, I just worked with this company and I don't do sales, but I was working with their sales team and I would love to introduce you to their VP of sales because it might be at some point they would want to bring somebody like you on to work with them. So that's what a leads and needs table is. And I see that going on. Like I said, I sit in on one of those once a month with the company that I'm working with in Nashville. Speed networking. I know the organization that I'm with, I have 5 franchises with a company called Network in Action. I have 5 networking groups. We do a virtual networking event for all of our members across the country, across the world, depending on what time zone, if they want to sit in on it. But there is quite a bit that's going on, but I see a lot of people who are really moving away from that as much as they can, and they really want to do the in-person networking. So I think it's been long enough, it's been 4+ years since COVID, and people are really starting to miss that human connection. And I think one of the reasons, we all know like anxiety, depression, PTSD disorders, things like that, those are all like through the roof right now. And I really and truly believe that a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that people have lost that human connection.
I agree. And I also notice it probably more than most because I live alone too.
Yeah.
And so I told my son one time, was out and about in the world,
Yeah.
and my son called and asked if I could meet him and his family for dinner. And I said, sure. And he said, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, I act like I don't know how to be out in the world anymore.
Yeah.
I find myself talking to random strangers and they're looking at me like, what?
That's okay. Come to Texas. We do that all the time. So.
Well, it used to be okay in Indiana, but apparently it's not anymore.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It really,
I think there's a lot of truth in what you said,
Mm-hmm.
Stacy. Especially, with me doing as much virtual training and virtual coaching as I do.
Yeah.
You just get to the point where you're thinking to yourself, I just want to meet you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Want to sit down, have dinner with you.
Yes, exactly. There's just nothing that replaces that. There just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And this is definitely, it's the next best thing to be able to see somebody face to face, but nothing replaces that human connection that God made us all. He designed all of us to have that. The first thing he made Adam, then he made Eve. He did not mean for us to be here by ourselves. So
yeah, he made us to need each other.
He did.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even say, like, Jesus was a networker. He had a tribe of 12 that he traveled around all the time. That was his network. They helped him. They went ahead of him. They paved the way. They made introductions. They took care of it. That was his network.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yep. And he didn't force people to listen.
He did not.
If they didn't want to listen, he mosey on down the road.
He didn't make them. No.
Yeah. Stacy, it's been a real pleasure. Everyone, I will have all of Stacy's contact information below in the show notes so you can reach out to her. You can go directly to her online courses, and you will absolutely love what you see. Stacy, is there anything else that I should call attention to that you would like people to know about what you offer as far as a networker?
Yeah, if you will go to my website and sign up for my email, if you'll subscribe to my email list, I'm not going to spam you, but I am going to, just as a thank you for signing up for my email list, I'm going to send you a video series that I put together of my top 7 networking tips. All of the videos are 2 minutes or less. They're just really quick, but things that kind of make you think when you're out networking, just to make you aware. And some of those things we talked about today, and then some of them we haven't, had the opportunity to get to. But you'll get that for 7 days in a row. And then after that, once a week, you'll get an email from me, just a tip, an experience, something that I wanted to share with you. Maybe somebody else that really made an impression on me networking by the way they handled themselves, or something that they said, or a great book about networking, anything like that. So I would love to offer that to anybody that is interested in signing up for my email list. Like you said, I've got my online course. It's a 4-part course that I teach, and I do it on Zoom as well as in person. So this next class that I have starting, I actually have people in 4 different states that are signed up for it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, which is a lot of fun. And so if I can help anybody in any way, I would love to help them navigate the murky waters that networking can be for some people. And we all need practice. It's a skill. We need to practice it like anything else.
That's right. Did you hear that word, everyone? Practice. How many times have you heard me say you need to practice, practice,
Yes.
practice?
Yes.
And take advantage of Stacy's free gift that she's giving you.
Yes.
I mean, all you have to do is give her your email address. It doesn't cost you anything. And I so appreciate you, Stacy, offering that to my audience.
Of course.
That's very generous of you. I appreciate that.
Yes, I'm happy to. I am happy
All
to.
right, Stacy. Everyone, remember, sales is a journey, not a quick trip around the block. Stay savvy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Christine.
You're